Undersea Mystery Club, The Puzzling Paintings. Book 7. By Courtney Carbone. Illustrated by Melanie Demmer. Performed by Kyla Garcia. Epic Originals. For my daring adventurers, Shayla and Colette. Stay curious. CBC. 1. On the first day of class, Violet and her mother were swimming toward the elementary school. Violet couldn't wait to see her friends and hear about what they did all summer. As they got close to the school, Violet gasped. There was a giant blob of black paint all over the front entrance. Violet saw Principal Martin beside it, looking worried.
"Mayor Vespera!"
he called. Violet's mom was the mayor of Aquamarina, the city where they lived. "Good morning," Violet's mom said. "What happened here?"
"We have a mystery on our hands," replied Principal Martin.
Violet's ears perked up. Mysteries were her favorite.
"As you can see, there is graffiti on the school building," Principal Martin continued, pointing to the dark splotch on the wall.
"How terrible," Mayor Vespera said. "Do you have any idea who did it?" she asked.
"No," Principal Martin said, "but hopefully the police will be able to figure it out. They're on their way here to investigate."
Violet looked around, but instead of seeing the police, she spotted a smiling young narwhal.
"Wally!"
Violet cried, waving to her best friend.
"Over here!"
Wally and his family waved back. Unlike Violet, who was an only child, Wally had a big family, with lots of brothers and sisters. He hugged his parents and swam right over to Violet.
"Bye, Mom! Bye, Dad!"
he called back. Violet wanted to hear more about the graffiti, but just at that moment, the bell rang. Violet kissed her mom goodbye. Then she and Wally swam toward their classmates. As they got in line, Violet saw 2 dolphins with police badges arrive on the scene.
"Uh-oh,"
said Wally.
"The police are here? I knew I should have returned that library book on time."
Violet laughed.
"They're not here because of you, Wally."
She pointed at the graffiti and explained what had happened.
"Are you thinking what I'm thinking?"
she asked. Wally nodded.
"Looks like we have another mystery to solve." "Hooray!"
exclaimed Dusty, the starfish who lived on Violet's hair. 2. The rest of the morning passed very slowly for Violet. Her mind was set on finding out about the graffiti. Violet had never heard that word before, so she wrote it down in her trusty mystery notebook to investigate later. When the teacher asked everyone to go around and talk about their summer vacations, Violet barely listened to her classmates. Sally, a mermaid, talked about surfing for the first time. Peter, a humpback whale, talked about migrating with his family. Ollie, an octopus who was new to the school, talked about going to art camp. But none of it held Violet's attention. She couldn't wait until class was over so she could do some sleuthing. Finally, the bell rang, and it was time for library, the perfect place to start when there was a mystery to solve. During free reading time, Violet went to the back of the room, where the reference librarian kept the biggest books of all. She found an old dictionary that was so heavy that she and Wally needed to work together to carry it. When it was finally on a table, Violet looked up the word graffiti. Graffiti, noun, drawings made in a public place without permission. It took them a while to find it, mostly because Wally thought the word was Fragriti. But finally they found it, smack dab in the middle of a page.
Wally wondered aloud. Who would do such a thing? I don't know, said Violet. But I think we need to hunt for clues to find out.
They decided that they would try to take a closer look at the graffiti as soon as school was over. 3. The next class Violet and Wally had together was art.
Okay, everyone, find a seat at a table, said their art teacher.
As Violet and Wally sat down, Ollie, the new student, came into the room. He looked from table to table nervously, unsure of where to sit. Wally waved at Ollie.
Come sit with us,
he said. Ollie grinned and quickly swam over to Violet and Wally's table.
Thanks,
he said, using all 8 of his tentacles to climb into a seat.
I don't really know anyone here yet.
No problem, Violet said.
I'm Violet, and this is Wally.
Wally smiled.
Want a seagrass cookie?
He asked, sneaking one from his backpack. It was covered in lint.
No thanks,
Ollie replied.
But it's really nice of you to offer.
Ollie took off his bag and put his sketch pad on the table. It had lots of cool paintings of suns and moons. On the cover, at the bottom of each one, was a little O.
Wow! Did you do those yourself?
Violet asked.
Yep,
Ollie said.
What's the O for?
Wally asked, tracing one with his fin.
The O is for Ollie,
he said.
I went to art camp this summer and learned that lots of artists sign their work.
Awesome! Can we see your other paintings?
Asked Violet. Ollie nodded and let Violet and Wally flip through his sketch pad. They looked at page after page of planets, constellations, and other cool things in space.
These are awesome,
Violet said.
You're really good at painting stars.
And I like the way you paint the sky so dark,
Wally added.
It makes me feel like an astronaut. I use my own ink to get it that dark,
Ollie said happily. For the rest of the class, Ollie showed Violet and Wally the painting techniques he had learned at art camp.
I go to the planetarium for ideas every day,
he told them. When the lunch bell rang, Violet jumped. The 3 new friends were having so much fun that Violet had completely lost track of time.
Thanks again for letting me sit with you,
Ollie said as he cleaned up his art supplies.
Sure thing,
Violet said.
Come sit with us anytime.
I think I will,
Ollie said with a smile.
See you around.
Hooray for artists! Throughout history, artists have added beauty to our lives with their paintings, collages, sculptures, and other creations. But artists play another important role too. Art can help us understand the world we live in and show us new ways of looking at things. For instance, famous artist Georgia O'Keeffe loved to paint close-up views of flowers and the scenery in New Mexico where she lived. Andy Warhol was inspired by ordinary objects like soup cans for his art. And Leonardo da Vinci incorporated math, religion, and science into some of his drawings. Violet and Wally are on the hunt for clues. What will they discover? Find out in Book 8. Available now. Epic Originals.